A very good evening to you wherever you are. Welcome to Let's Talk Show. My name is Brian Sagini. And fortunately today, I have a very strong panelist who's going to take us, or rather who's going to explain, or rather who's going to put us to perspective in as far as the issue of 100% transition from primary school to high school is concerned. And with me today I have Godwin Simiyu, who is an educational consultant, Bwana Nick Ongeso, a fourth-year student, Lauren Imbiti, media practitioner, Bwana Munjal Joseph, teacher, and lastly I have Colin Singaira, a Secretary General of Rongo University. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Godwin Simiyu, from where you sit as an educational consultant, on a press statement, the CS Education, Bwana Magoha, was calling upon all stakeholders to combine efforts towards the 100% transition. So from where you sit as an educational consultant, what's your take?
Okay, thank you, my friend Brian. I think what the CS Magoha said was a good idea and a good agenda to the government of Kenya. First, we need to understand this transition. What is it all about? Transition is a key to the national development and also prepares our children for a better future. Thank you so much, Bwana Godwin Simiyu. And I'll come to you, Bwana Joseph. As a teacher, so far the admission is ongoing, right? To what extent is the government doing the 100% transition?
I think currently it's moving up to 92%. And maybe if I may add on that, I also want to concur and maybe support or concur with what the CS has done, because it's going to help many of the pupils from the primary to reach the secondary school and acquire knowledge that we need to maybe help their lives in the future.
Thank you so much, Bwana Joseph. Colin Singaira, from where you sit as a Secretary General of Rongo University, what's your take on this time?
I'm so grateful for this time, and I also hold the view that the government, the Kenyan government, with the help of the CS Magoha, it's messing around. And why am I saying this? You see, when it comes to matters education to me, it's something that it's a key to success. I think we all know that. And it's a determinant to any growing economy in any country. And so my view is that indeed, if we have to have the transition, we cannot just say a matter of we want to carry everybody or every pupil or every student from primary school to secondary school. These students have different capacities in terms of memory and in terms of anything. Let's first be able to assess them. Let's be able to evaluate them. Let's be able to understand them in their capacities. If actually a student merits to go maybe to Form 1 or to secondary school, let he or she be able to go to that place. But if he or she is not meriting, let's keep on trying until when the student he or she is fully backed. That's my view.
Bwana Ngaira, when you say merit, what do you mean exactly?
When I speak of merit, you see with the marks, the normal marks that we normally have, the 250 marks each year. Let's be able to understand that each student or each pupil who has been able to score these marks, that means that this pupil has the capacity to reason, the capacity to be able to interpret issues when it comes to education. And so let's allow them, because they have the merit, to get to secondary school. But those who do not have it, you know, Waswahili wanasema nazibovu au nyanyabovu harabia nzima. You see, so those ones who have not merited, let them remain for at least next year.
Thank you so much, Bwana Ngaira. I'm coming back to you shortly. Bwana Nick, as a student, how was it done in as far as your time was concerned?
Thank you so much, Bwana Sagini. First of all, during our time, the transition from primary school to high school, it was done on a merit, as just as Colin Singaira said. And when it's done in merit, that means that the people transiting from primary to secondary school, they merit, meaning that they qualify. Maybe the pass mark will be 250 marks out of 500. Yeah. So during our time, the transition was because of merit. They considered every factor before taking these students to maybe secondary schools. And about the question and about the topic rather, Professor Magoha should reverse this and probably wait for maybe 10 years after the CBC has already gone through the system, so that he can start now the process with those students doing the CBC.
Lauren, from where you sit, what's your take?
Okay, according to me, I see that this is a very good thing, the 100% transition. You see, in secondary school, this is where people get to grow. This is where they get to know a lot of things. So if they be given that chance to come from primary school to secondary school, they're going to have that chance to grow. In fact, you see these students after, you see in primary school, it's all about choices. Okay, they depend on ABCD, and maybe most of them, they didn't quite read the questions or what, and that's why they may have not been able to reach the 250 marks. And then when they come to secondary school, it is a matter of you reading, you understanding, and you answering the questions according to how you understand. So I think it is a good thing.
Thank you so much. Bwana teacher, you can allow me call you that. Do you think the issue of merit is a big factor?
To me, I think issue of merit is not a big issue, because sometimes for maybe pupils to get the required marks, the 250 marks he was talking about, there are a number of factors that must be considered. And I think through that, I think it's just failing of considering the factors that makes a student or a pupil to perform well. That is what has made them not to get the required merit that he was talking about. In addition to that, I want to say that no child is incorrigible. No child is stupid. Therefore, it's just the same factors I'm addressing now.
And you know, not many students have, just like you've said, they are not stupid. But you know, each and everyone has got talent. Others are not suitable in that educational whatever. As in, you can find somebody, yes, he's in class, but his mind, maybe he wants to be a footballer, maybe he wants to be a musician, and you are taking that child, you are forcing to go to high school, and you know the education where I'll talk about education in Kenya. These are the 844, the current now that there's lots that are still doing the 844. You find that the education is not that so important. As in, it's important, yes, but they are giving too much.
So before you proceed, let me ask you, Bwana Godwin Simiyu, as an educational consultant, before reaching this agreement, or rather this situation of coming up to 100% transition, I think you are from the side of the government, right? Yes. So what did you consider, you people?
The factors that I considered.
No, I think you didn't consider it. You considered as a government.
The factors that we considered as a government to come up with this 100% transition. One is that in our country, as you see in our country, we have high rate of literacy among the young. You see the issues of fees come across. So it fails most of the parents to take their children to school. I think such factors and the poverty level, the life people are living, it's like those parents who will fail or who will be reluctant or who will have that small amount to take their children to school. So now the government will come in to assist them. We have bursaries. Parents are being advised to apply bursaries for their children. I think it's a good way that the government has played and a good role in terms of educating our young people.
As a media practitioner, you take charge in all media, social media platforms. So from where you sit, so far, how is the process picking up?
I think, as for now, most parents are happy with the transition. They want their children to go to that higher level, to know what is in line to them, and we can also see the students themselves. They're very happy to, get this is where they get a chance, this is where they get to grow up. As from primary, as I had earlier on said, they're still kids. Their mind hasn't yet grown to that particular level. But when they come to high school, that is where they get to grow. In as much as they will be in that particular school, even if they didn't perform well, this is where most people come to their realization.
Thank you so much, Lorraine. So let's go straight to the point. Bwana Collins Singara, as a Secretary General, what's your point, or rather, what do you think should be done to achieve the 100% transition?
One thing the education officer has just told us, to me, my reasoning is the education officer and all these people supporting the government, they're messing up the future of this generation and they're messing up the future of this country. And the reason as to why I'm saying this, I started by articulating that education is the gist. It's the key factor for the very well-being of any society. And as you all understand, we have these problems of every now and then we are being told that this building has collapsed here, this building has collapsed there. The reason is poor education. Every now and then you'll be told that person X has died in this hospital, person B has died in this hospital. The reason is poor education. Every time and then you'll be told that this plane has fallen, this plane has fallen. The reason is poor education.
Don't you think it's a mistake?
And yeah, it's actually absolutely a mistake.
Maybe a technical
And
mistake.
No, it's not a technical mistake. It's the reason behind it. It's poor education. To me, the government and those people supporting the government will have focused so much in trying to find the solution to a better education rather than trying to push all these people in the name of 100% transition.
But I think you are
Listen to
diverting
me.
from the point
Listen to
exactly.
me.
You are
Listen
not
to me.
talking about CBC.
No.
Bwana
Listen,
Ngaira.
I'm getting your point. Listen to me. So that by the time this pupil has been able to be left to leave from primary to secondary school, this pupil is fully baked. And that's why I'm still insisting that I don't support full transition.
Let me ask you a question.
I support,
So, Bwana Ngaira, from where you sit, does it mean?
I support that the government should focus on its education. Not that it has changed the curriculum. Let's focus on how it's going to build and energize the curriculum so that in future we cannot have collapsing buildings, we cannot have falling aeroplanes, we cannot have quack doctors. That's my view.
Lorraine, what's your point?
Okay, my point is, it's not like we can't just run away from the system. We still have pupils who are still in the 844 system.
Yes.
We can't just scrap them off and say that we want to concentrate on the new CBC. No, that's not going to be the case.
Yes, and that's why I'm telling you that let's not focus on the new CBs. Let's not focus on the scrubbing them off. Let's focus on how strong, on how healthy the education system is, because that's what matters. It's not a matter of who is transiting from where to
And
where.
my question is,
All right.
as much as yes, we are talking about 100% transition from primary to secondary school, do you, as in these kids that are moving from primary and they are going into high school, what happens after they have gone into high school?
That's the other question.
Thank you so much for the clarity.
That was
Mwalimu, what's your
my
point?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think when concerning of what Mr. Ngaira is talking about, he's talking of falling of buildings, he's talking of the fatal accidents we've been having, and he may be touching it with the poor education system. Remember, this is something that has not taken place.
Absolutely.
And it's something that is in the process.
Absolutely.
And it cannot be touched by the accidents and falling of buildings that had already taken place. What I want also to say is that each and every course requires attention of what? When we go to campuses, when we go to colleges, it acquires the entry marks. What we call, you must have the entry, the marks that deserves that course. So the cutoff points. So your performance at high school or the 100% transition from primary to secondary doesn't determine that you are going just to be given any course after all to do it and then become engineer, become a doctor, become quack teachers, and after all. I think at high school level, at higher education level, it is a bit different. We are specifying and focusing on 100% transition from what? From primary to secondary.
I'll back Collins Gaira's point. He said he's been attaching education to as into this poor, whatever happens, these fatal accidents. Yeah. And you know, as in prevention is better than cure. We all know that. Hakuna haja tungojee that ifike hiyo time yenye tuanze to feel those things that are happening.
This is something
and
that
then we
has
start
not
questioning
been
ourselves
initiated
what's
so far.
wrong.
It's something which is under process.
No,
It has not
exactly.
been initiated so far, remember?
Mimi, my point is, as much as yes, there's that 100% full transition from primary to secondary, there's this divot. Why should they let these kids? They have their talents.
And by the way,
Let them be enrolled. at
talking
this
about
divot.
TVET, let me ask you a question, Bwana Nick Ongeso. What do you think should be the fate of the pupils who score less 250 marks?
According to me,
Yeah.
I think these kids should be taken to this vocational training institution.
Let's focus on our main topic here. We are looking at the ways. Already transition, 100% transition is already happening now.
Sure.
So we need to see the ways that the government can put in place so that to enable, to support this transition. One, let's look about infrastructure in most of our schools. The government needs to improve on infrastructure. We have had different cases where most students are being forced to school, and yet no enough classrooms, dorms is not there. So the main focus of the government is to ensure that most schools are well developed. There's there's new developments in the school in terms of building so that they can accommodate these new students.
Lauren.
Okay, concerning Nick's point, he's talking about going to vocational trainings. You know, in these vocational trainings, we can't just take somebody from primary and then you directly take them from this primary to this vocational training. They also need, there is the theoretical part of it. They need to understand it. And I think the only place for them to have this particular understanding is for them to go to secondary, you know, because the type of teaching that takes place in vocational training is the type of teaching that takes place in secondary school. So I think it is just important for them to go through secondary school so that they choose after that.
I think I hold the view that Lauren is also messing up. He's messing us up. Why am I saying this? You see, you cannot start climbing a tree from the top. There is always the bottom.
What does that mean?
Samaki unamkunja angali mbichi.
What does that
You
mean?
see, what I mean is this. You see, we cannot start, I mean, we cannot want to start training these children technically, as she says, vocational training, yet theoretically, they have not mastered anything. And that's why the view.
She was opposing.
That's why I'm talking about them going through this
I think there's a
particular vocational
misunderstanding.
training. You know,
Yes.
they go through secondary
Sure.
first so that they get this mastery, so that
I
they
think-
can be able to
listen
not
to
just
me.
come
Let me
across-
excuse
The
me,
problem,
excuse me,
excuse me,
please. That point, or rather that question should be directed to Nick.
That's why
And I'm
that's why
backing
I want
him
to
up.
answer.
Not Lauren.
That's why I want to answer that question.
She's right.
Okay, he's right.
I think you should
Yeah.
be the one answering that
Respond.
question, please.
Like I've said about these students when when they have finished the exams, now there's this 100% transition. As in Professor Magoa said that he wants to each and every student who sat for the exam to go to secondary schools. You know, before you even go to secondary school, these kids they know what they want in life. As much as you can say that they are still young, but
That's an assumption.
hata kama ni assumption,
That's
but
an assumption.
at the end of the day these kids kuna venye as in unaweza ona mtoto wako he has not managed she has not managed to kufikisha your cut off points, and you know this kid is not good as in ukimpeleka high school just wasting your
And
money.
what if it was a mistake?
Let me say this.
And
You
then
see,
and then another thing before you come in,
Jump in.
as in you can't just take these kids like more than 500,000 you are taking to school.
Actually,
Let me tell
for
you.
that case, the government so far has margin 92% out of 100%. So that means 8% is yet to join high school. So don't you
And that's
think
why we
instead
are
of gonna...
correcting. We are correcting the government.
Yeah.
We are telling the government that's wrong.
But
We-
why?
We are holding
Why?
the government to accountability.
Why should
Okay.
we...
That's a good point of answer.
Yes.
Why?
Mwalimu.
Yeah, I think from their point of view, they are looking like
government
primary
is
education is
messy.
just enough for a pupil to choose what he or she is supposed to do. But I want to correct them that at primary level, currently as a teacher, we've seen so many.
Excuse him, please.
We've seen so many of the pupils very young, and they are not able even we are the teachers to come in and help them to do what they are supposed to do. And I think the idea of my sister here, she said that when they reach at secondary level, they are mature enough to know whether we should take them to vocational training or we should maybe we should now know the input, what they can do. If maybe either we can take them now to higher education learning. And that's why earlier I was against somebody's touching education, maybe a poor education system with the falling of buildings or maybe the accidents we have. Why? Because 100% transition from primary to secondary doesn't determine the course that somebody is going to do, or doesn't determine whether you are becoming a doctor, whether you are becoming anybody. But it's going to help the pupils to mature up so that from the secondary level, we can now choose where they belong to.
Thank you so
And
much.
that's why
Excuse me,
let me chip in just a minute.
All right.
The question is
And
what's
before
maturity?
and that's why I've insisted on this point. Instead of having these kids right now going to secondary schools, let's focus on the CBC. Let CBC decide if you're going to have that full transition
Or not. If you would have been focusing on those students and pupils who are fully qualified,
And that's what Mago is doing at the moment.
Yes.
Door-to-door campaign.
for those who are fully qualified but not fully transitioned from primary to secondary.
Let me challenge my friend Collins first. Collins, first, you need to look for the previous KCSE examinations results. First, We had a student who scored 178 marks,
KCPE.
KCPE.
Yes.
But this student scored an A minus, and another one scored a B minus. So it's not a bad way that CS is doing to promote this transition. I think he's trying to help. No one is limited.
So Bwana Ngaira, what should be done to achieve 100% transition in as far as concerning your qualified, the so-called qualified people are concerned?
To achieve 100% transition, let me respond to him before I tell you that.
It's okay.
My view is, Godwin, in fact, I hold the view that instead of now, assessing and evaluating these pupils just using a single KCPE exam, let's be able to assess them using termly papers. You see, that one would have given us a clear picture of who this pupil is. You understand? So that these people, these teachers who are in school with these pupils can be able to understand that even though this pupil has been performing so well, he has failed, but we still understand that if we are going to give him space to be able to get into secondary school, we have some hopes in them. That's what I meant in terms of quality and qualification.
Back to my question.
There is just something that we are forgetting here. But if we focus on your question, what you are asking, Mr. Ngaira, I think we need what to do so that we ensure 100% transition.
Sure.
And I want to tell you that there are a number of factors that we need to consider. We have first to change our process of our way of evaluating the pupils. We use KCPE to evaluate our pupils, and that is where we see pupils sometimes fails. Doesn't mean that doesn't mean that these pupils can fail.
Sure.
But sometimes there are factors that we need to consider.
So that means they are not stupid.
They are not stupid. Like you find that teachers are teaching pupils at school, and when they test, even the pupils performs well. But now when it comes to national exam, they are set by people who are not even, some of them are not even attending
You have that
classes.
fear. Yeah.
That fear, and in fact, the level of setting sometimes varies.
Fears are seen.
So the CBC brings in that the evaluation takes place by cards given in schools.
Yeah.
And these are the teachers who are teaching these pupils.
So that means we should be more practical.
Practical.
Yeah.
And if we never know, Bwana CS is really moving hand in hand with the CBC. Yeah, if we look the transition, the 100% transition and the CBC, they are hand in hand, they are inseparable.
Thank you so much, Bwana Mwalimu. Ladies and gentlemen, we are almost coming to the end of the show. And if you can allow me, let me take your final take on this stuff. Bwana Godwin Simiyu.
The government is really working hard and is doing great things to our people of our nation. So let us keep that with that spirit, help the CS. We sensitize our parents so that they can take the remaining pupils to school to gain a better nation in the future.
Thank you so much, Bwana Simiyu. Nick, what's your final take?
I think the government should evaluate these kids. They should evaluate these kids so that they can know this kid is capable of doing this and capable of doing that, so as to improve on that transition. And I like what the CS is doing, these door-to-door campaigns of making sure that these kids are going to secondary school. But they should also, after going to high school, they should also focus and know what they're doing in school. Let them not just transit from primary to secondary, and they let them be.
I want to fully support what Bwana CS is doing, 100%. And I can tell him that he should proceed with the campaign. In addition to that, I've talked of evaluation, but apart from that, we must also, if we want to achieve 100% transition, we must look on the social well-being of the pupils. And we must also, when I talk of social well-being, we must allow the transfer of pupils from one school to another, because the environment influences learning. And when they change environment, we must ensure this pupil can learn well where and in which environment. So that moving from, currently it has been made very, very difficult to take place, the transfer of one pupil from one school to another. So those are some of the factors that we need to look into. Last but not least, we need to look into what we call funds, because there is nothing that can work without funds. So for 100% transition to take place, there must be enough funds that is going to cater for education sector.
Yeah, according to me, in the same way we do invest into health, we can see this NHIF card that is there to cater for our for our bills, to cater for any bills for us when we are sick. It is the same way we should have maybe something of the sort, so as to cater for our education. You see, education, it is one thing that is going to improve our sector in all things, the economy and everything in our country. So the best thing here is for us to invest in education in as much as that we are investing in our health.
I hold the view that the government, what's doing under the Cabinet Secretary Magoha, it's right and that's what should be done. And if there is anything, again, my view is that the government can be able to do with the help of Wananchi and maybe the help of all these Teacher Service Commission and all the education bodies, let it do so that it can be able to actually ensure that the well-merited students have the capacity to join their schools of wish.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. Thank you for making time for us. Until next time, I've been your host, Brian Sagini. Good evening.